Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. If you're new to the channel and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on the subscribe button at the bottom of the video that you're watching right now. It's that red button over there. Just click on it and turn on the notifications so that you'll be notified every time we produce a new video on this channel. We generally produce new videos on a Wednesday and on a Saturday, and sometimes only once a week. It depends really. Sometimes our videos are very long and we then only produce one video a week instead of two. All right. And if you're new to our channel as well, we always make sure that we give you all the information that you need to follow along with the videos that we produce. So at the bottom of the video, right next to where the description should be, there is a button over there that says shows more. You can click on it and it's going to expand the description. Okay. So if we discuss about, a link or, something that I say to you, I'm going to link it in the description below. You're going to find that link over there. All right. And for every video that we make as well, we have timestamps to help you navigate through our content a little bit better. As you can see, a lot of our videos are very, very long because we explain all of our concepts in great detail. Okay. So instead of watching the entire 3-hour video, you can just read through the timestamp and figure out which part of the video you want to see. Of course, you're welcome to watch the entire video, but if, for example, you're coming back and you wanted to remind yourself of something, you can use the timestamp. Okay, the way that timestamps work is if, for example, you want to, figure out, oh, this is how I want to do a tweet with an image, just click on the timestamp over there, and it's going to fast forward and take you to that section that is talking about that. Okay, so this helps you navigate through the videos that we're making. Okay, you don't have to watch the entire video. Okay. So on the description as well, we will have links to our YouTube, Instagram, and all of that, so feel free to follow us on social media so that, you can learn more about a Scholar Online. In this video, we're going to be talking about automating your Facebook posts using a Python. All right. So to get started, I want you to go over to the Facebook developers website, which is developers.facebook.com. This tutorial is going to be very similar to what we did when we were automating our Twitter posts with Python. We're going to do exactly the same thing on the Facebook side. And if I may note as well that we're going to be doing this for a Facebook page. You're just going to focus on how to automate posts within a Facebook page that you would have created, okay? So if you go over to developers.facebook.com, you will find the Facebook developers website. And if you're here for the first time and you don't have a developer account, you will have to create a new developer account, but that is very simple to do. You will be prompted to log in and create a developer's account. And then you'll be able to access this page, okay? And once you've done that, you will be logged in and you will see that this is linked to your actual Facebook account. So you also need a base Facebook account to be able to do this, all right? Now, when you get here, you need to, first of all, start by creating an app. But before we get to that, I just want to take you as well through the documentation that we're going to be dealing with in this video tutorial series, okay? And I'm going to link all of these inside of the description below in the description box. But the URL for that is developersfacebook.com, and then you go into the docs, pages, access tokens, all right? So this is the first thing, okay? You can go into the overview and getting started and read that, but the real documentation starts over here where you're going through the guides, all right? How to get the access tokens, okay? We are going to do a lot of this in a little bit more detail later on when we discuss short-lived and long-lived access tokens, all right? But we are going to be starting with what they call a Facebook short-lived access token, which you should be able to get from the Graph Explorer tool, okay? So the Graph Explorer 2 is where we are going to get started. So let's go to do that, but we'll do that a little bit later. What I also want to take you through as well is the published content, because once you have the access token, you will then use the access token to publish content on your page, all right? And this documentation is very detailed and really, really good. It shows you exactly how to do that, and it's written sort of in curl format. So it shows you how to do a post request or get requests to the certain URL endpoints and all the sort of the the variables and the the arguments that you have to send in with the request to be able to get anything that you want to do. Okay, so the publish post is the one where we're going to start with, where we're going to post, we're going to publish a post to our Facebook page, and over here is the URL that we have to send to. You have to send a post request, as it says over there. You have to send a post request to this URL, and then you have to send in these arguments. And the first argument is a message that you want to send through, and the second argument is the access token. So this access token is what we need to get now in order before we can proceed. Okay, so let's go over to back to the Facebook developers Facebook page. And when you're here, I mean, if you have time, go through this and read about all the products that a Facebook developer has for you, because I think there's a lot you can do if you have time to play around with. Okay, but we want to go to My Apps. Okay, so go to My Apps because you need to create a Facebook application similar to a Twitter application before you can get started. And once you've clicked on My Apps, you will get led to this page where you can see all the apps that you have. And you can see I have a bit of apps over here. And when you the first time you come here, you will need to create a new app. Or if you're getting started with a new Facebook page, we will start to create a new app. Okay, the app that we're going to create is going to be posting on this Facebook page. If you're like a regular on this channel, we did like e-commerce tutorials long past, and we created an e-commerce page called Last Week South Africa. And I haven't been doing a lot of posts on this page, and I want to start automating this page so that I can engage a little bit more, because this page took off more than I thought it would. Like it has like quite a bit of followers already, and I hardly ever post anything on it. People just follow it automatically because I picked the right keywords, right? Remember keywords? So I'm gonna work with this page just to get started, just for the post section of this tutorial, okay? Because for a lot of the other pages I've already created applications for. This is the one that I haven't. So let's get started, okay? So we're going to create an app, and then you've got a couple of options, okay? Manage integrations, build. This is asking you what is the app for, all right? What we want to do is to create posts, okay? So create and manage events, groups, Messenger, Instagram, Graph API, and all sorts of business integrations. This is what we want, okay? So just tick on that first one and then click on continue. All right, and then you're going to decide what is the name of the app. I like to pick the same name as the Facebook page that the app is going to be working on, so that I don't confuse my apps, because as you can see, I've got quite a bit of apps already. So this is going to be the Lace Weeks app, all right? And then the email address is there, and then this is for myself. And over there, we're just going to leave the business manager not selected. We're going to just leave that open, and then we're going to go to create an app. Then you'll be asked to do a security check. Just click on that to make sure that you're not a bot. Yes, I am not a bot, and submit. Okay, so when you get here, you're inside of your app. Your app has been created. That's your app ID over there. All right. So if you go back to the documentation, underneath the access tokens, where you are trying to get an access token, you will see that it says you need to get it from the Graph Explorer tool. Okay. So to access that Graph Explorer tool, you're going to go to the tools at the top and find that Graph API Explorer. Okay, so that's where you need to go and click on that, and then you'll be able to get an access token. All right. So when you get over here, there's a lot of apps. This Bitmaster is another app that I've got over here. This is not the app that I want to work with. So just click on the button there and go through all the multiple apps that you've got and find the apps that you want. The app that I want is this one, Lace Weeks. So I'm going to select that. And you'll see when I select Lace Weeks, there's no tokens created for this app. This is a brand new app that I just made now. So we're going to now go into the process of getting a token, okay? So when you select Lace Weeks and you go into get a token, you click on get a token, you will see the drop down opens up, and there's different types of token over here, right? You get a user access token, an app token, and a page access token. Okay, the token that we want is actually the page access token, all right? And because we want to be able to post on a Facebook page, all right? But the user access token, you can also get the user access token and use the user access token to get a page access token. But I'll show you that later on in the video tutorial. for this, for the purposes of what we're doing now, we specifically want a page access token. So click on that and open up a page access token, and then it will open up a page to allow you to log into the a page that you want to get an access token for. Obviously, you need to be administrator of that page in order for you to be able to get a page access token for that page. If you're not the administrator, you can't obviously get a token for somebody else's page. Then you'll be prompted to log in with your username. So you first of all logging in as a user. Then once you log in as a user, then you see your list of pages that you have, and then you can click on the page that you want. I want to do this for this lace wigs page, and then you're gonna click on next, and then it's gonna connect the page. All right. So when you get here, you'll get this warning: submit for login review and blah blah blah. Don't get worried about this. This is mainly for people who are creating apps that, like Hootsuite apps, which have websites and people can log in and do a lot of stuff on it. If you just want to post on your own Facebook page, you only need basic standard access. You don't need advanced access. So you don't need to go through this whole app review and get a business approved and all of that. This is for people that want, advanced access. Okay, so you just want basic access. We're gonna ignore that, and we're gonna just say done over there. And you are now linked to Lace Wigs to Facebook. Okay, so click OK over there, and then once you've done that, all right, you will see over here all the permissions that you've got. Okay, automatically, because you've selected the page, it shows you the page show list, so to show the pages and the read engagement. But what you really want is you want this page access token. So just click down there and make sure you select that list, because you just now added it to your profile or for this app. Now you have to actually select it down there. All right. And then when you select Lace Wig South Africa, you'll see the permissions you've got is the public profile. You can see that. You can see the read, and you can see the show list. The permission you need for posting articles is actually for posting on your page is actually a permission. All right, so you need to go through all your permissions over there and look for that permission. There's a lot of permissions that you can add. All right, and some of these permissions, obviously, when you try to add them, then it might require advanced access, and then it might prompt you to, then you must get an app approved. But the one that we're going to be working with, we don't need that. It's called a page manage a posts. Okay, all right, so page manage posts is the permission that allows you to manage posts, which means you can create a post, you can edit a post, you can delete a post on your page. All right, so that's the permission that you need. So let's click on that. All right, and then it will say 3 options are selected. All right, so you'll see that page manage posts in green. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and just select it again. All right, and let that token refresh itself. Let's just copy our token. All right, let's copy our token, and then let's go and start working on it. All right, so once we've copied our token, we're gonna go to the documentation again. All right, so, and we're gonna go to the published content documentation, and then we're gonna have a look at what exactly we need to do to publish our content. All right, so this is the URL. Okay, you need to send to this URL graph.facebook.com, and then you're gonna have to enter your page ID feed. All right, then once you've done that, then you're gonna select the message that you want to send, and then you're gonna do the page access token. Okay, so for this I'm going to use Postman. Okay, before we actually write Python code, especially when you're working with APIs, it's just good practice, and I do it all the time, to work with Postman to test the API until I know that the API is working, it's sending me, and I even know exactly what gets returned back to me from the API. Then I can write code. Okay, so let's just go and look for Postman. All right, Postman is a free app that you get paid version, but what we want to do is actually free. Okay, you can just go to their website, and then you need to download the desktop version. Okay, so I'll link this out as well for you in the description, where you can go and find this Postman, but I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to download it again. All right, so this is my Postman over here, and I've entered the URL, and you'll see over there I've got already if you look at the documentation, where is it? you'll see it's https://graph.facebook.com and then the page ID at the top, and you'll see facebook.com page ID. I've got a page ID there already, but it's the wrong page ID because I was testing this with a different page. So let me just also show you on Facebook how to grab a page ID for your page. Okay, so if you go to your Facebook page here, you need to go under more, you know, where it says more, and then you open that up, and then you go to the bottom of this and you find about. Okay, you go to about your page, and you can see all the information about your page, and at the bottom over there you will see the page ID. All right, so just copy that page ID. All right, and that's the page ID that you need to put into your URL over there. Okay, so I'm going to go over there and replace that page ID with that one that I just got now. All right, so once you've replaced the page ID, then you need to replace the message and the access token. Okay, and if you're working with Postman, you know, when you enter variables, you'll also see them on the query parameters. You also see the parameters down here. You'll see the message. You can even type it here. Like if you change it there and you change H, you'll see it also gets removed from the URL over there. You know, so Postman allows you to work with it. So it's easier to work with the parameters over there. So what goes under the message parameter? Message is equals to is that message over there. That's the message that will be posted on your page. Okay, and the access token will go over here, and once you paste it over here, it will show over there as well. Okay, so we've entered the page ID, we've entered the message. Let's look for the access token. Let's go copy the access token again. So we'll go back over here and go to the graph, whatever, and make sure we've selected that Lacewigs South Africa use page, and let's copy the token again, and then we'll come over there and we will paste the token, and it needs to be a post request. Okay, it needs to be a post request on that URL. Okay, and let's send it. All right, so it's giving me this error. This requires an app being installed in the group, where if you get an error like this tells you that your access token is wrong, or your access token itself doesn't have the permission to do the page post that you're trying to do. Okay, so if you get an error like this, double check your page ID. So this is 1051314. Just double check that this is a correct 1051, you know, ending with a 38 at the end. All right, so the page ID is definitely correct. So the problem is going to be with your access token. So you go back to your access token. All right, and then let's then okay, you have to click the generate access token again, because you have to log in again and grant it the permission again. That's what we hadn't done. Okay, so click next, and now it has a create and manage content on your pages, and then click done. Okay, and then once you've done that, say okay, and then your page manage posts is no longer green. I think when it's green, it means that it's pending, so you had not had that permission before, right? Then make sure that the token that you're selecting is not a user token. Down, click that down again, and select Lacewigs so that it's a page token, and make sure this is not green. All right, I think that's the problem that we had. And then we're gonna copy the token again, and then we're gonna post it into Postman. All right, so we've posted the new token, and let's try this again. The message I'm sending is, hey guys, we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up, blah, blah, blah. Let's see what happens. There you go. So what you want to see is this, it returns, you know, like this ID, and it has some numbers over there. The first number that you get is your page ID. Okay, so that's 105 should be the same as the number over there. That's your page ID that ends with 38, and then there's an underscore, and then you get a second number over here. Okay, this number that you get, the second one, is your post ID. All right, so you want to save this number. If you want to be able to maybe edit the post in the future, you will need to send the post ID as a query argument. All right, or you want to delete the post in the future, you will need the post ID. So this is how you get the post ID. There's another way of getting the post ID, but obviously when you create it the first time, Facebook returns to you the post ID and the page ID. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to go back to our Lacewigs page. All right, and then we are gonna go home, and then we're gonna check for that post that we just created and see if it's there. All right, so let's just refresh this. There you go. This was posted just a minute ago. Hey guys, we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Watch this space, and this is the URL. This is the post that I just created now. Hey guys, we've got a lot of interesting things coming up. Okay, so this is how you can post in 2 lines directly to your Facebook page using the API curl request. And there's many ways to do a post request. You can use Python, and that's you can use Postman. You can write code in any language. You just have to post to this URL with these variables. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do it with a Python, because obviously that's what we're here to learn. We learn how to write code using Python, because there's no point in spending so much time and effort to go and write all of this on Postman and spend so much time getting all these access tokens just to post 2 lines. It would be easier for you to just go and do it off the Facebook page, right? Why would you want to do it? Why would you want to automate it? That's the interesting part. Okay, so let's get to the Python code. So over here, I've already written the Python code to do this. Okay, I've got the message that I want to post. Hey guys, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Please have a look there. Obviously, I need to change this message. I'm gonna write something else over there. Let me go actually get some inspiration from my Facebook page. All right. Let me just copy that line. All right, and paste that line over here. Now available. All right. And then this is the URL. Remember, this is the URL that you need to post to. The URL is the graphfacebook.com, and then you're gonna put your page ID over there and feed, and then that's the URL. And after that, the payload is the query that you're gonna send with that, and the payload is obviously the message and the access token. Okay, and in Python, how we're gonna use the requests library to do this. All right, and then we will then say requests post, and we just put in the URL, which is that post URL, and then we put the payload, which will be under the data query argument, and then just like that, we are sending a post request. So to do the exact same thing in Python is just this 1 line of code. This R is equals to that. This is the 1 line of code. Basically, these are all variables that go into this line of code. I've just put them separately to clean the code up for you so that you can see what's happening over there. All right, now let's run this on a virtual server. Okay, if you're going to do a script that automates anything like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, it's not going to help you to write this kind of a script on your personal computer at home. All right, you need to be able to write a script like this on a virtual server online, or Python anyway, or a virtual private server, so that you can let the script run automatically on a scheduled basis, so that it can post for you regularly. All right, because it needs to be running all the time. Okay, you don't want to go to the script every time to restart it, because that's why you write a script, to automate something for you. Okay, so for something like this, I would recommend DigitalOcean. I use it for a lot of my scripts, and it's very cheap. You can get a virtual private server there for like $5, and I'll link in the description below how you can a place where you can just go and buy it. And once you have a virtual server, you can do a lot of these things over there. All right. So and there's a video as well in our channel where we show you how to get the server, how to set it up, how to install Python over there. It's a whole process. Have a look at our videos. Maybe I'll link that video as well in the description, so you can see how to set it up. I'm not going to go through the process of setting up the server. I'm going to assume you already have a server to run this from. This type of code, you want to run it on a server. Okay, so let's assume we already have a server. Okay, and this is our server over here. All right, and inside of our server, I've already created the development environment. Okay, and I've already activated it as well. And in our videos where we are setting up and creating all of these virtual environments, there's lots of videos on this on our channel. Just go through it and you can learn how to get to this point where we are right now. So when you get here, you need to already have a virtual server. You need to already have installed Python at least, and activated a virtual environment, because we work with virtual environments, because you want to separate your libraries inside of a virtual environment. So we also have that in the videos in the description below. I mean, if you want to get even a very detailed video step by step of how to create even a virtual environment, have a look at our Django video series, because I think there's a whole 2-hour video on where we're just setting up Python and our virtual environments. Okay, So go and have a look at those videos there. Now we have activated and we're ready to go. This is where we're going to write our code. Okay, our virtual environment is good. It's good to go, right? So you can see at the top over there, I've got two things. Okay, import requests and import config. So you need to make sure that you've installed a request. Okay, and how to install requests is just very simple. You just do pip install requests. When you're inside of the virtual environment, you don't have to do pip3 or pip1 or whatever, because the Python inside of a virtual environment is the one that's going to be installed. And if you want to know which Python you have inside of your virtual environment, you can just say which Python, and it will tell you this is the Python that we have inside of our virtual environment. Or you can say Python version. Sorry, you need to say Python version. Which Python tells you where the Python is, but which Python version shows you that inside of our virtual environment we're running Python 3.5.2. So even if you say pip install, it will be, you don't have to say pip3. Okay, so I'm going to clear all of that, and then I'm going to, you need to create a file that you call config. All right, it's just going to be a simple Python file. For example, let me just create a new file over here and just show you how you're going to do that file. So let's just call it like I don't know, to delete.py, all right? So assume this is your config file, but you need to call it config, okay? So over here, what you can do is that you can say nano, okay, config.py, all right? And then you're gonna click enter. Then it will create a file that is called config.py. So inside of that file, you're gonna have, there are two variables that you need to save inside of the file, okay? The first variable is the page ID, all right? So we're gonna go in there and we're gonna say page ID, all right, just like that. And then we're gonna do it like, you know, like that. And then the next variable that you need to save is the Facebook page access token, all right. And then we're gonna do that, and then Facebook page access token, and then you're gonna save these variables in here, okay, page ID and Facebook page access token, all right. And once you've saved all the variables like that, then you're gonna save that file. You're gonna close it from your virtual environment. I'm not gonna do it because I've already created the file. All right, so I'm just gonna close that and I won't save it. And then after that, you can then copy this code that I've written for you here. All right, it's very simple. It's the message as a string, okay, the post URL as a string, all right, with the page access to page ID in there, the payload, which includes the message and the access token. And because these are saved inside of a config file, which I import at the top there, import config, I'm just gonna say config dot page access token config.page ID. What this does is that inside of my config file, it finds the access token and the ID, all right? Then after that, this is the line of code you need to run, okay? So I'm gonna copy all of this over there, all right? Facebook posts. And then I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna say nano Facebook posts like that .py, all right? And it's a new file, so I'm just gonna paste all of that in there like that, okay? Purple ombre Louis available right now, and then I'm gonna click X, and then I'm going to say yes, and then I'm gonna save that file, all right? And then after I've done that, I'm just gonna double check quickly off camera that my access tokens and everything are saved properly, and then we're gonna run this code. All right, so I just basically opened my config file and I made sure that I saved all of those things properly, all right? Then once you've done that, all you need to do is to run the code, and you run it by just saying Python and paste that in there and click enter. There you go. So what you're getting here is very similar to what we got when we did it on whatever. This is what it returns, the page ID and the post ID. You'll see this post ID ends with a 56. It's a different post ID there that it ends with a 699. And if we go back to our Facebook page and we restart our Facebook page like that, we should be able to see the new post that we just created right now that says, let's just have a look at it. That says purple ombre lace wig, natural human hair, now available at that. This is a different post than the one we did earlier 11 minutes ago that says, hey guys, we have a lot. So this is the one we sent through Python, and this is the one we sent through Postman, all right? So this works, okay? So let's go have a look at a publishing post. So we've done this publishing post, all right? You can publish a link, and there's information there on how you can do that. You know, the link that you want to publish, if, for example, you want to publish stuff about your products, you would do exactly like that. And you can also publish a photo, okay? So we're going to go through next part of the tutorial is to go through the process of actually publishing a photo to a Facebook page. Although I think I'm going to use a different Facebook page, I wanted to take you through this so you can see how to actually create one. But let's continue with how to publish a photo to your Facebook page. Okay, so to do a photo publish, if you scroll down that URL for publishing from Facebook developers, towards the bottom of the page, there is that, documentation on publishing a photo, okay? So you need to send a post request to this page ID photos endpoint, and then you need to send the payload of the URL, which is the absolute path to where your photo is saved on the computer. And then you need to include your access token as well. So we're going to test this out and see how this one works. So for the photo that we want to post, I'm going to always go to my favorite place, which is Enviro Elements. And this is a great place to get design stuff that you don't have to design yourself, okay? So go to Enviro Elements, just Google up there. And I've Googled a couple of things that I like. You can download, templates from here, and then you can edit these templates on, software like, I use Affinity because it's cheap to use, but you can use any other, whatever. Otherwise, you can create this stuff from scratch. It's really up to you how you do it, okay? So I want to show you the post that I'm going to send through. So this is I've downloaded one of the templates from Enviro, and then I created this, there's specific dimensions that work really well with Facebook, and that's 2878 times 1618 pixels, okay? But you can use any dimensions, but these ones I find is the one that fits nicely into the Facebook post. So I'm going to post this picture that says, this image that has, there's no better time than the present to go after your dreams. Start working from home today, freelancejobs.co.za. So that's what I'm going to post. And so this computer exists in my computer. This image exists in my computer right now. And if you want to find the absolute path of this image, you can just open up your terminal. Okay, terminal. And so this is opened up over there, all right? That's okay. Where's this terminal? All right. So, and then you can just sort of like get that image and like paste it on your terminal, and then you'll get the absolute path of that image over there. So I'm going to then copy this. This is the absolute path of the image, and then this is the path. Sorry. Let me just copy this. All right, so this is the code that we're going to be using, okay? And I'm going to just put in the URL there. I'm just going to like put it inside of brackets, okay? So it's saved on my desktop, and this is the image name, right? So the code that we're going to be using, let me just get rid of the other one at the top. This is the one that we used earlier on. Import request, import config. You still need all of that, okay? And then let's go to the bottom code so that you're not sort of, you can see only one thing at a time. All right, actually, what am I doing here? What am I doing? I need to actually create space at the bottom. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So you can see this clearer. Okay, so you've got your image path. I've just pasted that. We'll get to that later. The URL for posting this is that same one, graph.facebook and photos at the end. I showed you how to get that. And then you need to put in your page ID over there. So we have our page ID at the top, and it's going to input the page ID there. And then after that, then you get the image location. This is the absolute path to the image because I'm going to work off a virtual private server. But if you're working off your home computer and you did what I did, you need to get the absolute path of the image, sort of like from the root of your machine, where is the image saved? All right. And that's what I have under image location. And then after that, this image payload is what goes in as a post payload to this URL. You need to include the URL, and then in the URL, you need to put in your image location, and then you need to put in your access token, which I've saved somewhere else in the config file. And then you basically just send a post request to that URL, to that image URL, and include that payload, and that should be it, okay? But because I'm working off a VPS, and I need to take this image and save it into my VPS, okay? So we're gonna do that quickly. I'm gonna copy this code because this is the code that I use to transfer a document from my computer to the VPS. So if I remove this, there you go. Let me just clear this. And then I'm going to paste that code over there, and you can see what I've posted. It uses the location. So the location is of this current image is not this logo.png. It's that same location that we just copied and pasted over there. So I'm going to delete this. And the name of the image in the desktop that I want to save is this image name over there. Okay. So let's go back there and paste that in there. There you go. So this is the absolute path in my current computer where that image is. And then I go into my VPS, and the location where I want to save it in the VPS is in this careers portal folder and in a folder called images. So if you go in the careers portal over there and you list over there, there is a folder called images, and that's where I want to save it. So, and then you just put images / and then it will save that in there. So if you click enter, it will ask you for you to log into your VPS, and you just log in the way you normally would log in, and it's gonna save it. Okay, I want to also save this image while I'm at it. Freelance jobs template, we'll get to it later. I'll show you exactly what that is for, but once I'm here, let me just do that as well, so that I don't have to do this again. Freelance jobs. All right, then I just have to log in again, and so that's done. All right, and if you go inside this folder, you will find the images that they. Okay, now once you've saved the image in there, so now on this path, which is this current path image location inside of my VPS, this is the image location that we saved it to, development Twitter career portal images. That's the same path over there, and then that's the name of the image. So this path is now correct. I'm going to delete that because we don't need any of that anymore. So we've got the URL, we've got the path, we've got the location, we've got the access token. We should be able to run this code. Okay, so I'm going to copy the page ID and all the things that we need at the top over there. I'm going to paste that over there here. So we need to import requests, we need to import config, and we need the page ID. All right, and then page ID, image location, config, we've imported that. Request image URL, which is over there, and image payload is over there, and then we're going to print the text that we get out. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go to my VPS, which is over here, and we had a file that we called facebook.py, so I'm just going to remove that file. .py. All right, and then I'm going to recreate the file so that I can paste on it. We're just going to paste that line of code. Then we're going to save that, yes, and then we're going to run that code. Okay, Python facebook.py. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the error that we're getting here is that the URL should represent a valid URL. Okay, so the auth exception code 100. All right, so when you get an error like this, I love to sort of Google it, but I think I have an idea of what this means. Okay, so this URL, maybe perhaps on the documentation over there, let's see, on the documentation and read that URL, because they don't have sample code. All right, so maybe let's see on the reference. Okay, okay, that's gonna take forever to go through, but I have an idea of what I think this means. Okay, I think this means that they don't you know, like the URL should be like a sort of like a you know, like an HTTPS URL where the photo is located on the internet, where Facebook API can go find that image. I think that's what it means. Okay, but there's one way to test if that's the case. Okay, so let's see that. So I've gone to my favorite place where I like to host my images. Okay, so this is the URL where I went and I saved this image over there. If you go and you enter that URL over there, that's the image. This is the image that you just made, and I've set it on that URL. There's nothing else in this place except for the image. I mean, you can learn how to do this, host images on yourself. It's not complicated at all. All you need is a domain, okay, and you create just an HTML page, and then after that, on top of your HTML page, you have an images folder, and you sort of host it like a static website, but you put all your images in the static website, and then you put that image folder inside of the root of where you are hosting your HTTP, and then you host that on a domain somewhere, or you can even not host it on a domain, you can host it on a port. It's up to you how you host it, but you create an HTTP route or an HTTPS route to be on the safe side, an HTTPS route to the location of that image. So that's what I've done there. And then I'm going to copy that and put it back in my code. Okay, so I've done that, and let's just make sure image location 1 is the URL, and then the token is correct. Let's see if this is going to work. Right, we're going to paste that in there, and we're going to close it, and then we're going to try Python facebook.py. Awesome. So it worked. So technically you have to do that. That's going to complicate our process, because to save an image in a location where it's hosted by HTTP, it's not that simple, right? So let's have a look at our Facebook page, and where is it? Where's our Facebook page? Freelance jobs. This is it. All right. So let's just refresh that page and see if that image is there. I don't want that. All right, I don't see the image. I'm refreshing the page. I don't see the image. Hope I didn't put it in the wrong. Oh no, I'm on careers portal. So why am I on careers portal? I want to be on the freelance jobs page. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Oh, there's the image. Okay. So there's the image. I just published this a minute ago. And before that, we published that freelance website, reach one person. And there you go. Okay. So this is how you can post images on. So there's two ways to do it. I mean, if you're running, and remember the dimensions I told you about, these are the base dimensions for a Facebook image. What I wanted to show you next is now how to create this on the fly. Because, you know, it defeats the purpose if every time you've got to go download an image and put the text and still write code to post it. You might as well just go and post it directly and go there and edit there instead of writing all this code. The reason why you want to write this code is so that you can automate all of this, okay, and put it on a schedule and have it run automatically so that you don't have to every day do this. Because if you have to go through what I've gone through now to post this image, actually it would be faster to just do it directly from the Facebook page. Why would you want to use Python for this? The reason why you want to use Python for this is you're going to write code to do this. So you're going to put all of this in a function, all right? Let's say remove that and put this on an image function, whatever, all right? And you're going to put this in a function. You're going to put all of that in a function, all right? Post function, right? And paste that, and then suddenly you've got and then you can remove that. You don't have to import this twice, right? And then you've got two functions, one for images and one for whatever. And then you're gonna put in maybe you're scheduling and schedule the post and the image on a regular basis. But then again, you don't want to post the same post every day. So you're going to then create a list of possible posts that you could post. So you could say a random list, right? And in this random list, then you're going to have multiple posts, right? Multiple possible posts. And the more you have, the better. So maybe you come up with up to 150 different random posts that you could post. And then inside of your post function, instead of posting this, hard coding this message over there, okay, you're going to remove this hard coded message. And then you're going to say, maybe it's a random choice of this random list. All right. So that you can randomly select a post in there. And obviously, if you do that, you have to import random over there, right? So you can import random. We're gonna write a random list of messages we can post, and then the post function, every time you run this function, it'll pick a random post from over there, and then it will post it. So if you had like 100 different messages, it's very possible that if you pick randomly and even post it twice a day, every time you would pick a different message. And by the time you get over your messages again and you're reposting them, maybe it's 2 months later and it doesn't look like you're posting the same stuff, but at least you're keeping. And you can then, all you have to do is refresh your random list. So this random list is something you can save inside of a data folder, right? And every month or every 2 weeks, you just update the messages in there. And then you leave your code to always select randomly from this. Or if you don't want to do that, you could even like put it on a counter. So let's say if you wanted to not select it randomly and you wanted to select message 1, message 2, message 3, message 4, you could also do that and put a counter in here and start from 1, and then the first message would be message 1, and then 1 plus plus, the next message would be message 2, and then you would post through them one by one, and then maybe you have like 50 different messages in here, and then every day it would pick the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, and you could do that. But I prefer random because you know, I want to sort of like randomize the stuff that I'm doing, and so we're gonna work with random. So this is the way you would do random and just make this list a long list, right? But when it comes to images, you've got two options. You can recreate all your images at once, right? 100 images and do the exact same thing and just randomize through your images. But that is going to be too much work, okay? The second option is actually to have maybe 5 base templates. So if you look at this image that I've got over there, right? So you could have, and you've seen a lot of companies actually do this. They have like a few base templates without any writing on, right? And the base template would be designed according to your, you know, company's branding, you know. So if your branding is, you know, your logo, you know, maybe you have like 5 different types of, you know, templates according to your branding, and the message would change. So the message inside the template would change, and every time you would type a different message, but the background would be the same, right? And I'm going to show you how to create this type of let me just put this somewhere else, okay, and open that. All right, I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? Go from that to that on the fly with Python code, so that you only save one template image, and on a daily basis you just randomize the message. So if today it's Happy Women's Day, you're just going to add Happy Women's Day on the go, on the thing, and create this image. Save this image and then post it to your social media when you want to post it, so that you can automate posting of images, but it's not the exact same image. It's different images, but at the same time, it's also different messages. And then you're randomizing through your templates, but you're also randomizing through the messages. And then it will be like a completely different post every time. You understand? So for that, we're going to have to find a way to, on the fly, create an image object which has you know, text on it, and that text is something that you can program into that image, and that's why you want to use Python. So that is the only reason why you would want to do this on Python. Otherwise, if you were just going to be typing a message every day, it makes no sense. You can just do it directly from the Facebook itself. Okay, so when we continue, the next part of this lecture is to now automate this process and show you, expand and show you how in a typical you know, company where you are managing an entire, you know, marketing campaign, how you could automate this like on a monthly basis. Okay, so we're gonna continue where we left off. I want to show you how to schedule the posts, because to schedule like multiple random posts in advance, including images. And that's only when this sort of functionality becomes useful with, you know, getting with the ability to automate your Facebook. Now, if you go back to where we got our Facebook keys or our access tokens, I didn't mention this before, but the access token that you get from here, whether it's the user token or you clicked at the bottom there to get your page token, both these type of tokens are short-lived tokens. Okay, so this is the part we didn't cover. If you go to the documentation, we started here already publishing content, but I was using the access token which I got from the Graph API Explorer directly from the website. Okay, So these tokens are short-lived tokens. So if you go back to the documentations, you'll see the explanation of a short-lived token and a long-lived token. So the short-lived token is the one that you get from the Graph Explorer tool, is what I took you through to get that token. The problem with that token is that it expires in an hour. Okay, so you can't, technically you can't schedule posts with it on your, even though it works, but we had just generated it, and within an hour, for as long as we use it within the hour, it's good to go. But it expires and then you have to regenerate. So if you have to write a program, like a Python program to schedule stuff over like a week or 2 weeks, it's not going to work. You're going to need to get a long-lived token. So I'm going to take you through the process of acquiring the long-lived token, because even to acquire the long-lived token, you need to start with a short token. So we're going to go back here, and I don't know if I should just close this. We're going to go back here and we're going to get our short-lived token. Okay, there's two types of short-lived token, but the one that you need to get started with this process is the user token. Okay, so return to user token. This user token, make sure you've selected that and then copy that at the top. That's the token that you need to get started. That's the user that is connected directly to your account, and provided you have set up your app properly and you followed all the instructions that I did for you, and you own the page, you should be able to get the page token from the user token. So once you have the user token, all right, you come back here and you get a long-lived user token. You need the short-lived user token to get the long-lived user token, all right? And here is the curl request for it, okay? You're gonna send a request to this URL, all right? You're gonna grant, and you're gonna specify that you need to grant the exchange token, and then you're gonna enter your app ID, you're gonna enter your app secret, and then you're gonna enter the short-lived user access token. Okay, the user access token is the one that you just got now. Okay, so there's three things you need: the app ID, the app secret, and the user token. Okay, so I've copied this whole thing, all right, and I've pasted it on a Postman. This is why I like to use Postman for this. Personally, I think to generate the tokens, you can do this on Postman, because you do it once and then you're going to get a long-lived token for like, what, 60 days, and then you're going to do it again after 60 days. So you don't have to code this in, all right? You can code this to replicate every 60 days, but I think for now, let's just do it manually so you can understand exactly what we're doing here, all right? So I've pasted that URL at the top, and the moment you paste the URL at the top there, you know what Postman does for you is that it shows for you, your client ID, and it shows for you all the different variables that go into this. Don't worry, I'm gonna change these after I'm done with this, but I just wanted to show you so that you can see what's happening here, all right? So the client ID, this client ID, all right, which is the client ID, is actually the app ID, all right? So you're gonna go to your app, and this is where I was, all right? And you're going to get your app ID there, all right? So that's that app ID, and that's the number that goes in there. And then you need the client secret, okay? And the client secret is the app secret, all right? So you're going to go back into your app, and you're going to go into the settings. You're going to go into the app basic, all right? And then you're going to get the app secret there, all right? Don't worry, I'm going to change this app secret once I'm done with this video. But you show that secret, you copy it, all right, and then you paste it there. So you've got the app ID that is associated, and then you got the app secret, and then you need the exchange token. The exchange token is your short-lived token, right? So the short-lived token, which is the one which you got over there, all right, this short-lived token, make sure it's the user short-lived token. You go and you put it over there, and then it's the short-lived token, and then this builds the whole URL. So you've got the ID, the secret, and the token, and then you run this request. When you run this request, it's going to return. I'm not going to run the request, but when you run it, I've got everything you need to run it. It's going to return for you the long-lived user access token. So what this does over here, it exchanges the short-lived for a long-lived, and then the long-lived will return like that, okay? Then when you get the long-lived token, you use that to get the page token, because the user token is limited. You can do stuff with the user token already, by the way. You can go to your Facebook, you can pull your posts, you can do a lot of stuff with your long-lived token. You can check your you can read like your posts that are on your timeline. You can do a lot of stuff, but that's not what we want. We want to get the page token because we want to post on the page, okay, that we manage. So from that long-lived token, we're going to generate a page access token. And keep in mind here, even according to the documentation there, that this token is valid for 60 days, as opposed to the short-lived token, which you get off here, which is valid for 1 hour. If you do this, you're going to get a token that is valid for 60 days. So for 60 days, you can use this token, it's going to work. But 60 days later, you're going to have to come and replace it again. But now that we've got a long-lived token, we're going to go here to get the page token, okay? So for the page token, here's a URL, okay? It's Graph Facebook. You need the page ID. The page ID is that number that I showed you how to get off the page. If you go to the page itself and you go to under more, and I showed you, you go to about, you will get your page ID, all right? So once you get the page ID, where will we? Okay, you get the page ID, and then you need the fields is access token. Don't change that. Only change the stuff that's in the curly braces, and the next thing you need to change is the user access token. All right, so this is where you're going to enter your long-lived access token. By the way, you can do this with a short-lived access token as well. All right, so if you use the short-lived access token to get a page access token, you will get a page access token that's valid for an hour. So the short-lived one gives you a short-lived page token. All right, but if you then have transferred your short, exchange it for the long one, and you have the long one, and you enter the long one in here, you're gonna be returned a page token that has no expiration date. That's what Facebook says. Let's hope that is the case. So I've copied all of this, all right, and I've gone into my Postman, all right, and then I've pasted the URL there, and you'll see the fields are the access token, and the second field is now that long-lived user access token, right? So you put in the long-lived user access token here, you run this request, it's going to return for you a page-lived access token, but it's a long-lived access token that doesn't have an expiration date. So that's the access token that you're going to take, and when you come to your, where were we? Let's just close this. You're going to come to your Python program, and inside of your config document, you have a config document. This is the one that we're importing at the top. And inside of your config document, paste that long-lived page access token there, all right? And I've also moved my page ID to the config document, okay? So every time I need to access the config document, the page ID, I'll just say config.pageid. Make sure it's saved in the same directory. So I've saved my config in the same directory. I won't show you the config file because I want to show you my long-lived access token. All right. I mean, what you're seeing here is just like the first 5 digits of it. Where is it? Whatever, you know, on the Postman. It's just like the first 10% of the token. The token is really, really long. All right. So that's why I don't want to show you the config file. But nonetheless, trust me, it's there. It's on the same directory. You paste your page ID number in there and your access token in there. So I've called it Facebook access token. So I call that variable Facebook access token is equals to whatever in the config file. Then once I've done that, I import the config file in here by saying import config, and then to access the token, I say config.facebook access token. It will get it from that file, right? So that I have these saved in a different file. So that's what you need to do just to set up in the beginning for your access tokens if you want to now automate this over a long period of time, okay? Then the next thing we need to do, what we discovered when we were trying to send an image, is that you need to host that image on like an HTTP. So you need to create an HTTP host of your image files so that Facebook can access them in order to post them on your behalf. All right. So this is the part that's going to take a bit long, and I'm going to take you through it quickly so that you can understand how this done. So how it's done. The first thing that you need is that you're going to need a hosting account. You're going to need like a web hosting account where with a domain. All right. So if you don't have one, I'll link in the description below how you can get one easily from domains.co.za. All right. So I've got one. All right. But you can go to domains.co.za, but I'll put the link for you guys that you can follow. And once you get there, you can like create a domain. You can buy a domain from there. Let me just show you. You go to domains.co.za. if you go to the home page over there, you can look for a domain name there, and you enter whatever the domain name. They're very cheap. You can start as low as 79 rands or whatever, just to get a domain. And then once you have the domain, I will then tell you what to do. So once you've entered the domain and you've bought a domain, you then need to go and by the way, you can get a .co or whatever. In your account, you'll see the list of all the domains you have will be listed like that. Okay, so then once you have the domain, to access this domain list, once you log into your domains.co.za, and then you go to manage account, and then you go to domains. Okay, so manage account domains takes you to this page where all your domains are listed, and then you're gonna find the domain that you want. Let's say we want to create it for careers portal. All right, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna say manage DNS. Okay, I don't want to open the DNS of my website, but you're gonna do it like that. Okay, and say manage a DNS. Okay, and once you've clicked manage DNS, then you can change the DNS records. Okay, the DNS record, what you need to put for your DNS record is this. You need to check first of all what is your IP address of your VPS. Okay, so you also need a virtual server to do this, because obviously to host a website you need a server. And if you want to follow along with us, you can get one from DigitalOcean very, very easy, like we've done in the previous videos. And and you need to get then the IP of that virtual server. This is why it's important. I think as a developer, you need a virtual server, one or the other, because you can do there's so much that always comes back to you having to work off the server. Because if you want to host code that runs continuously, especially scheduling stuff, you need to schedule that on a virtual server, because you can't host it on your own machine, because when you switch off your machine, the code goes off, right? So assuming you want to work with DigitalOcean, I will also link that in the description below, where you can get yourself a droplet. Then once you do that, you're going to get the IP address of your droplet. Okay, so the IP address, you will get it from your, once you bought the server, you'll be able to see what the IP address is. Okay, then you get that IP address and you create your A record that points to that IP address. Okay, so although you've bought a domain from domains.co.za, domains.co.za doesn't have to host it. You can just buy it for like 79 rands, and you don't need a hosting package, because you already have a VPS. You can host the code on the VPS and use the domain and redirect to the domain using the DNS records. You understand? So now I've got this domain. I'm going to just show you what the DNS record needs to look like. Okay, I don't know if I can type in here. The DNS record is going to be an A record. All right. And then you're gonna have like the you can use like what, 120, or yeah, you can use 120 for the time, and then after that you're gonna put in your IP address. All right. If you're not sure how to do this and you bought from domains.co.za, just contact support and say to them, guys, can you please add for me an A record that points to this IP address, and they'll do it for you like in 5 minutes. Okay, so you can go over here and under manage account, you can go to the dashboard, and over there you're able to like create a client request for people, for them to help you, or like raise a ticket, and then in that ticket just say, I just bought a new domain, can you please set the DNS record for that, and just make the A record to point to this IP address, and then you give them the IP address of your virtual server. That's all you need. Okay, so you change the DNS records like that, then you go back to your virtual server and you wait for like what, 30 minutes, an hour. So we've waited. Let's assume now our IP address is now registered on the DNS records. Okay, once that is done, then you go to you go to nginx. Okay, so if you followed along with our tutorials, you should have nginx installed already. Nginx a server is installed already on your virtual private machine. Okay, so what nginx does is like it helps you sort of host HTTP of your computer on port 80, so that people can access it like a website, right? So if you don't have nginx installed, I mean, this is not complicated. You can just sort of like Google how to install, nginx on DigitalOcean or something like that. In DigitalOcean, I've got a lot of tutorials on this, and just go and look and have a look at that. Click on that and figure out and install nginx. But if you followed along with us, you should have nginx installed on your DigitalOcean folder, right? So assume we have nginx installed. We are gonna go back here, and then we're going to use nginx to serve the image folder that we want to serve so that we can be able to access our images off the internet. All right, so that we can give those links to Facebook and post the images that way to Facebook. So let us go to nginx, and I've written the code for you over here that you need to write. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Let me put them next to each other so that I don't move around a lot. All right, so this is the nginx file that you need to put on, okay? So you need to open a nginx folder, a new nginx file under sites available, and I'm going to call my nginx file careers images, okay? So it's just going to be like a place where I'm hosting images, and I'm going to call it careers images. So I'm going to say sudo nano because you need to open any file in this location with sudo privileges. Nano is that command that opens up the nano code editor, and then you tell it which location it must open the code editor in with sudo privileges so that you can edit the file content. Okay, so I'm going to copy that as it is, and I'm going to just paste it. Doesn't matter where you are in your VPS, I'm just going to paste that in there, and it's going to ask me for my sudo password, and I'm going to enter it, and then it opens that file. So I've already created this file because I wanted to test this before I shot the video, but it's actually very simple what needs to go into the file, okay? You're just going to put in one server block, all right? And inside the server block, you have a listen at 80, so you're listening at the port 80 because that's the port that's used for HTTP of your machine. And then you need to specify the location that nginx needs to serve in that port 80. So I want nginx to serve images that are inside of this images folder, right? And this images folder is going to be located home, Zartosh development. This is where I'm actually working from. So all the images that I'm working with are in here. And remember when we moved images earlier on in the video and we were moving these images, this is where we move the images to. Okay, we move the images to this folder. All right, so I'm telling nginx to serve this folder with HTTP on the HTTP under port 80. So I'm giving it the location of the images, but you also have to give nginx like an HTML file. All right, so I'm just gonna say in that folder I'm gonna just create a blank HTML file. All right, and it's gonna be called index.html. All right, and then the server name. This is now the domain that you've just either bought or created a subdomain that you've just created the A record for. Okay, so you've created an A record that points to your VPS. And then you're going to go and enter that server in here. Okay, so this is like the website or the domain. Okay, so I actually just created a subdomain under careers portal. So, and that subdomain was image.careersportal.co.za. And if you want to create a subdomain in your case as well under a domain you already own, you just create, an A record for a host, and you call that host image. Okay, so if you call the host image, then it will create a subdomain called image.your domain. If you call the host whatever it is you want to call it, it will create a subdomain under that, and you manage that under DNS records. And if you're not sure, guys, how to do this, all right, write an email to customer support services for whoever your hosting provider is. With domains, they are really, really good. They'll respond like in 2 minutes. Just write them an email and say, I would like for you to create for me a subdomain that is called this, and I want that subdomain to point to my VPS. All right, so they'll do it for you. And then after that, you'll come and you'll put that subdomain that you've created in here. And then that's all you need to do in this file. All right. And then I'm going to close the file. All right. And once you close the file, you need to link it from sites available to sites enabled. Okay. This is standard. Every time you do this, you just run this code over there. I'm not going to run it because I've already run it. Okay. And then once you've run that code, the next one you need to do is this nginx-t code, which just checks for errors, like you haven't made a mistake. When you run this code, this one I can definitely run. If you run this code, you want to get the response that, the configuration test was successful. Then that's what you want to see. Then once you've done that, then you restart nginx, okay? Restarting nginx just sort of, because you created a new server block that you've added, you just restart it because the server block is working with other server blocks that you have. Like in my case, I'm serving like multiple servers off the same VPS. All of them, you just create them that way. Just like that, you click enter, right? Once you've done that, if you then go to this image.careersportal.co.za, you go over there. All right. What I've done is that I've added a new HTML file in there. All right, which has nothing. It just says careers portal. All right, so let me just clear this and show you, right? So this is the location, right? And then inside this location, there is images, the images folder, okay? So I'm going to cd into images, all right? This is the folder that I'm serving on HTTPS. If you listen here, it's just images that I've put in here. I've added lots and lots of images that I want to be able to, like, you know, randomly choose an image that I will post on my Facebook. And then I will add text to that image on the fly as I go. So there's nothing in here but images. But then I added just one file called index.html because I told nginx that there will be a index.html file that it needs to serve, because nginx will be looking for that index.html file, okay? So inside that index.html file, I just added that, which means if you go to this domain currently, and it should serve you this index.html file, okay? And let's test that. So if you go to your website, where is it? There it is. Actually, this is the one, right? So if you go to this website, and the one I just created, images.careersportal.co.za, with nothing on it, it will just serve that blank HTML that says Careers Portal. Okay, so this is what it's serving. And then all of these images that are here, okay, all these images, okay, freelance jobs images. This is the one that we sent, remember, earlier on. All right, we've saved this image in here. If you then go there and you say / and you put that image there, it will show you that image. So this image is now available for you to use on online. So if anybody, even if you are watching this video right now and you go to this domain, you're going to find this image. You're saving it over HTTP for everybody to be able to access the image. This is I think what Facebook needs for you to be able to post images for you. I haven't figured out how to post images from the actual location in your folder without sharing the images over HTTP. Twitter allows that, but anyway. So once you've done that, now we've got an image. Let's say we've got a blank image like this, right? And then we want to take this blank image and we want to write text on it on the fly, you know? So I want to like write whatever I want to write. Hello, my name is Wara Wara. Welcome to Freelance Jobs on the fly, and then post this, you know, so that I can have a few sort of blank templates. And every day I can post a different message. You know, you could have like a blank template with your sort of a logo on them, and then every day you're posting a different message on it. And then you are building that on the fly, and then your users are sort of seeing a different message every day. You know, but the template, the background template is the same. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. Okay, this is the process we're going to follow to take this template image that you see over there, and put text on it, so that, and put it on the fly every time. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with the blank image template, which is this blank image template. Okay, we're going to start with this blank image template, and then we're going to create an HTML file. And inside that HTML file, we're going to use this one as the background image to that HTML file. So we're going to build an HTML file like you normally create HTML. And inside that HTML file, for the background of that HTML file, we're going to use this as the background for that HTML file. Once we've done that, when you have the HTML file, then we can put H1, H2 tags or whatever, or paragraph tags, and add text. So we're going to be adding text to an HTML file, which has this image as the background to it. So that's the next step. We're going to add text.html file, and we can do that then on the fly. And every time we add text, we're going to add a different text. Okay, so once we've added text to that HTML file, then we're going to take the HTML file and then we're going to convert it back to an image file. Okay, and to do that, we're going to need a library called IMGKit, which is what I was showing you earlier on, IMGKit. Okay, and you can just install it by saying pip install IMGKit. But the problem with IMGKit is that IMGKit uses this in the background, what they call WKhtmltopdf, all right? IMGKit, if you just pip install it, it won't work, okay? It won't work if you don't have this installed. And, you know, it's a whole lecture on itself, how to install HTML to PDF, WKhtml to PDF on your computer. Trust me, it's a long process. But I have done it many times, and one of the best tutorials online that I have found that is really good with directing you how to do it on Ubuntu is this tutorial over here. And I will link it in the description for you, and you can find it, okay? And this tutorial shows you multiple methods of doing it, okay? And the best method, especially on Ubuntu, okay, is install it is to download it from where it's located and then install it instead of using apt-get, okay? Because when you use apt-get, it actually installs a wrong version and then you have issues later on with that, okay? And this is the same WKhtml that you use when you create PDF files. And maybe in the future, I will perhaps go through this whole tutorial from scratch and show you how to install it. And then we'll use it maybe when we want to create PDFs on the fly. You know, if you want to like maybe create an invoice PDF or whatever PDF file, there's always a lot of functionality for doing that. It also uses this in the background, but instead of using IMGKit, it uses PDFKit. But for today, we are using IMGKit. And so go through this tutorial over here. I will link it for you. All right. If I forget to link it, it's just computingforgeeks.com. Install WKhtmltopdf, or you can even just Google this. And there's lots of bad tutorials on this, but this one works. I've tested it. Okay. And depending on your version over there, these are actually two instructions. The first instruction is this one, wget. You do wget that, and then after that, then you do sudo apt install that, and remember to then delete it from your where you've saved it. Okay, so once you've done that, you have WKhtml installed. Then you can do pip install imgkit inside of your virtual environment. So when you are over here, so let's get out of these images. Okay, and let's clear this. Inside of your virtual environment over here, make sure that you then install pip install imgkit in here. I've already done that, okay, so I'm not going to do that. Then once you've done that, I'm going to now take you through this process in code. Okay, I'm going to take you through this process of what we're doing over here in code so that you can understand. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is this index.html we don't need anymore, so I'm going to close it. All right, this is the file. All right, if you look at my maybe let's go back to images. CD images and list over here. You'll see I've got images from, and I've called them template 1 all the way to template 52, I think. So I've got like templates up to template 61, okay? So I've got lots of templates that I can randomly choose from because I want to create the impression that I'm not using the same template every day. And it's up to you how many templates you want. You can even have one background template, doesn't matter. By template, I mean this background image over there. So this is the starting point, okay? So all these images are all templates, starting points that I'm going to be working on to put, my text on top of, all right? So in my specific case, I've decided to have a template 1 up to 60, and then I've put them inside of an array. So if you look at an array there, this is an array, and then I have the absolute path to those templates. Right, so the absolute path is home, Zatosh, development, Wara, development, Twitter, careers, portal, images, and then the name of the image. This is the absolute path to where this image is located, right? So that's where you get started. So this is the image that we're going to be working with over there, all right? Let me maybe perhaps put this side closer here so that you can see the steps, okay? So we're going to start with the blank image. So this is the blank image that we're starting with, all right? Then after that, we're going to create an HTML file that uses that image as a background image, okay? So we're going to go and create an HTML file. Here's the HTML, okay? It's going to be like an in HTML, variable actually instead of a file. And inside that HTML variable, I have doc type HTML at the top, at the bottom over there. So it begins as an HTML there. So it's because I'm creating just a small HTML file with a background. I don't actually have to use a file for this, okay? And this is not running inside of any app development or website development environment like Flask or whatever, so I'm actually just writing this using Ginger, okay? So you can go ahead. We're gonna import all of this at the top. All right, import IMGKit, which you've just installed. And the next thing that we're going to need for this here is from Ginger to import environment, because we're going to use this environment to set the variables inside of the HTML, okay? So once we've done that, this is the HTML file, okay? It has a head, and in the head, I've got so I'll put this code and make it available for you if you want to, see it. All right, and here I've actually even specified the type of font that I want, okay? I want this type, this font Morgana, and I've saved this at font Morgana inside the TTF file in this location, and then this folder can access this font. This is not necessary. If you leave this blank, it will just use the average font, but obviously with Facebook posts, you might want a very nice font, okay? And I'll just show you how to get this, because these fonts are not complicated to get. If you go online and you just go Google Fonts, okay? Google Fonts like that. You will find, you get to the Google Fonts website, and inside of the Google Fonts website, there's like tons and tons of nice fonts. I mean, if you're gonna do, Facebook posts online, the last thing you want is like boring font. If you're gonna spend all the time to write all the nice fonts, maybe you can think about. I mean, if you're gonna spend all the time to do this, you might as well use nice font, okay? So I'm just gonna go through this and see if I can find that one, because Morgana is a font that you won't be able to use because it's a purchase font. I purchased it from Enviro Elements. Okay, you can purchase it there if you want, but maybe let me use a font you can also use. Okay, so let's look at this one. This looks nice for a Facebook post. So you check that font like that. If you click on it, you can just download font family. All right, or you can just so let's just click download font family, and then Facebook will download that for us. Okay, then once you've downloaded the font family, you just go back to your downloads, all right, and you open it up. All right, and then I'm gonna go and open up my fonts over there, and this is the font Clivana regular TTF. All right, I'm just gonna put it there on my desktop, okay, and delete it. So this is the font, right? So once you have it in here, you can save it in your virtual server. You can transfer it like a file to your virtual server. All right, so let's see. Let's go to our terminal. All right, let's go in here. Let's check the absolute path of this. All right, that's good. And then I'm just gonna copy that as it is. All right, and then all right, and then I'm gonna copy that, and then take me back to my notes. All right, and I'm gonna paste it at the bottom there. I'm actually gonna copy that and command rsync command, and then so that I can get this exactly. So I want this TTF file, which is in the desktop. So this is the first, so it's rsync avz, and then the first variable that it takes is the location of the file that you want to move, okay? Then I want to move it to my virtual server, which is at this IP address, and this is the location, but I don't want to put it inside of the images folder inside of here. I actually think I've got a fonts folder. Let me just make sure. So if I go back in here, in my virtual server, let me cd out of this and let me list. I do have a fonts folder in here. Okay, so instead of putting it inside of the images folder, I will put it inside of the fonts fonts folder, right? Then you just copy that rsync command. Then this rsync command is gonna move this font that we just copied in here, Kavianar, is gonna move that Kavianar file into your VPS, okay? Okay, and it looks like that went well. So if you actually cd into fonts and you list in there, you will see that Kavianar is there, all right? TTF, okay? So let's just copy this file name again, all right? And let's go back to our code. So then you're gonna specify the root of where the file of the font file is, and then we're gonna put the file name there. Okay, so I'm gonna use that font that I just downloaded, Kavianar, in there. All right, and then I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna call it Kavianar instead of Morgana, because it's not Morgana. I'm gonna call it that, and then font family is that, and then there's the whatever, and then at the bottom this is the font that this will use. Okay, so let's just look at the code again. So the style, you got the font face, that's the font face in there, and that's where you, this will find the font, and then you specify like some classes, and these classes are just used for positioning the text that we're going to add. So there's two things we're going to add. At the bottom left, we're going to add like the text that we want to put in, whether it's a quote or whatever fancy words you want to put in. This is the text that's going to sit on top of the template. So the text that's going to sit on top of there. All right, so we're gonna it's going to be located at the bottom left of that of the image. And then at the top right, I just want to include the logo. All right, so I've got the location to the logo. I've saved my logo, my business logo, and then I'm going to include the logo up there. And then once you've done that, that's the end of the styling. And then you go into the body of the HTML, and inside of the body of the HTML, you're going to put everything inside of a container. All right, did I specify what a container is? Okay, I think I removed it, then it doesn't matter. Then I specified the background image. Remember, the background image is now that image that we're going to put in. The background image is going to be this. All right, so I'm going to specify that background image for that entire container. And the width is 100%, so I want that background image to fill the whole container. And the background image path, all right, I'm going to have to like enter it into this HTML when I render it, okay? And that so this background image path will go in there, all right? And then the image class, the top right is where the logo goes, and that logo also will have an absolute path, and that will go in there. So the top right of that image will be that, the background will be that, and then the bottom left is where I'll put the description, and that description will be then the text that goes into that HTML. So there are 3 variables, and you can see we're using the double curly braces. This is standard Ginger, Python, coding, because we're gonna feed this variables into the HTML on the fly, okay? So the background image path, we're going to feed it on the fly, the logo, and the description. So we need to specify these 3 variables every time we are rendering this image, okay? So the rendered output is we'll be rendering this HTML using the environment, and we're going to render it using the content. So we have to specify what is this content, and this content is obviously that's going to include these variables over there, okay? So let's have a look at this content at the top. So this content is a dict, all right? Is a dict object of the background image path, the description, and the logo image, all right? The background image path is a random choice of Facebook images. So we're gonna go and choose a random choice between this whole list of stuff, okay? But what I can do actually, I can do something else. No, let me not do something else. Let me do exactly what I'm doing. So between these images, image 1 to image 61, we're going to randomly choose an image over there, and that's going to be the background image, okay? The message that goes into there, we're going to enter it in the function every time we call it. So every time we call create Facebook image, we're going to enter the message that must go in there. So that's a message you're going to be able to enter on the fly every time. And then that message is going to go into the description, then it's going to be rendered into the environment as a context every time we call this function. Then the logo is that logo IMG, and I've specified at the top my logo location. This is where I've saved my logo. All right. So why do we have like double that there? Okay, that's not important. Okay, so that's basically all that we're doing over there. And this will be rendered with that font. Okay, it will get the font from the URL, from the source of the font. All right, and then it will it will bring in all these variables, the background image, the description, the image as a content, and that content will be rendered into the HTML using the environment, and this environment is the one that we have imported at the top from Ginger 2. Okay, so you need to import this from Ginger 2 at the top for this to work, and then you're going to specify all of that, and it's mixing it together and creating that HTML. So this rendered output is actually going to be an HTML file. Okay, and every time you render it, based on the content that you give it, that's how we are going to be adding content on the fly in different words. If you had different logos as well, and you wanted to use the same code for 2 or 3 different companies, and every time you would put in a different logo, that's why I actually did it like this, so you can see. You'll see over here, I had coded the logo, which means I'll only use this for freelance. But actually, if you wanted to be really smart and you have like multiple brands like me, and every time I use a different logo, you can, I've shown you how to do it that way, all right? Otherwise, just remove this logo IMG section. Just remove it and remove it from the content. If you don't have to put it in on the fly, it's actually easier to just hard code it to the image if you want. Then once you've done that, then you need, there's 2 locations you'll see over here: HTML location and image location. Okay, the HTML location is just, you need to save this HTML file somewhere. All right, so this is what this is doing. This line of code is doing that. It's taking this rendered output because this is it's like a file object or an HTML object currently, and you need to then save it. And we're going to save it in a place that we call HTML location. All right, and using the encoding or UTF-8. This is very important, especially if you have like emojis and stuff like that. You don't want to get errors. So when you save this file, when you write this file, or when you open this location and you write the file, open it with that encoding, okay? Or whatever encoding you want to use, but be clear and make sure that you don't have funny things that then the encoding can't recognize. So this line just takes that rendered output and saves this to the HTML location. And the HTML location that we want to save it to, we've defined it at the top there. We're going to save it under the images in the same place where the images is. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to save it as the output HTML. All right. So once I've done that, now I've got the HTML file. Okay, now we are here. Where are we? We are now here. We started with a blank JPG. We created an HTML file using the ng as a background. So we've done this and we've added the HTML. So we've done all of that. We haven't even got into IMGKit. We just used Ginger and the environment in Ginger to create the HTML file. Now this is where the IMGKit comes in. Okay, there's just one line that IMGKit uses, and it just goes. You say IMGKit from file, okay, and you get the HTML location. You need to find where the HTML is saved. All right, and then the image location. You create a new image location, which is we just created a file. We want to save it as output.jpg. We want to save it as a JPG image. All right. So you specify the HTML, where the HTML is coming from, where the image is going to go, and then you need to specify your options. Options are very, 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 very important. This is where a lot of errors come through, and I'm just going to warn you in advance. You need to make sure you've specified this xvfb, all right? And I think you need to install it as well, right? Let me just double check this. Let me just Google this because it's been a while since I did this. I think this is something you need to install as well. Yeah, xvfb in Ubuntu. Yeah, so you need to I think that there's like apt-get that you need to install it. Whatever, let's do that. Ubuntu install. All right. Yeah, apt-get install -y xvfb. So there's a command to install this on Ubuntu. Okay, so you can use this command sudo install. You sudo apt-get install to install this. Okay, so you need to run that command before you can use it as an option over there. And if you don't do that, you get an error with IMGKit because of some headers. It's like a long story, you know. IMGKit, honestly, it needs its own video tutorial. So I'm rushing through it and assuming that you're going to be able to fix these issues. But when you get to this stage, make sure you install this on your device and then you put it inside of your options, just like the way I've done it here. All right. After that, you specify the encoding, and this is another one that's very, very important. Enable local file access, set it to none. All right. Otherwise, you have issues with accessing your fonts and all sorts of other things, and then you get into issues with that. And then custom header, accept encoding gzip. Okay. So these options, just copy and paste them the way I have it. Don't ask questions. Take it and make sure you've installed that inside of your device. Apt-get, install that. Maybe I'll put this in the description as well, so that you can see that and that you don't forget it. Okay, so perhaps I'll put this also. I'll try and link it in the description. If I don't, just watch the whole video not to miss important points like this. So once you've done that, then you do IMGKit from file, HTML location, image location, boom, boom, boom. All right, let's test this. Okay, we're gonna test this code as is, and if this code runs well, I've already tested it. That's how I know I've installed all these things, and all the errors you would have gotten, I've already done that, so you won't get those errors. Everything should work well. All right, let's test this. I'm gonna just copy that and paste it at the bottom there of the file. And then over here, I need to put in the text that I want to be displayed on the image. This is how you'll know that this is the image we just created now. So I want to display on the image testing 1, 2, 3 Houston. Houston, we do not have a problem. Let's hope this will work. Okay. So so then you copy this entire document as it is. all right? And you come over here, let's cd out of there, all right? And let's say nano. I think I've done this before earlier on when I was testing it. I called the file Facebook img.py. So I'm just gonna open it. You see, yes, that's that image. That's the file that I've done. So the only thing I'm gonna change at the bottom here, I'm gonna put this over here so that it actually runs this entire function. All right, and then let us close this, save these changes. And then let's just do Python Facebook img.py and run this function. All right, it's done. And if everything went well, all right, this image will be saved in this location, in the image location, which is foutput.jpg. All right, so let's copy that. All right. And let's go to the internet, because now we are also what's the word? We are also like hosting these images. This whole folder, we are hosting it. All right. So if we go to the website where we are hosting this whole folder from, and instead of displaying that image, let's display the output that we just created now. All right. Display that output like that. Okay, there you go. So this is the background image we used. That's the logo at the top left that we've added. This is the text I just did now. Testing 1, 2, 3 Houston. We do not have a problem. The font. I don't know if this is. Does this look like the font we just did? We just used. I don't know. Looks a bit odd. Let me just double check something with respect to the font. Font face, font family is that, and the source is that. All right, let me just search for the word font in this whole. Oh yeah, there you go. Font family. So bottom left, font family should not be Morgana, because I still have font family as Morgana. And even though I've specified the font family there, I need to copy that and paste it in there. All right. Font face Clavinana. Okay, Clavinana. Okay, so let's do this again, because I could see that font is not the right one. Right. Let's go over there. Let's remove the entire thing. Facebook img.py. Let's remove the whole thing, and then let's nano .py, and then let's paste that. All right, and then we're gonna say yes, and then we're gonna Python run that. Okay, Facebook img.py. All right, and then it's done rendering. Okay, then we're gonna just go. It's gonna be saved in the same location, so you can just refresh this. All right, there you go. Testing 1, 2, 3 Houston. We do not have a problem. Every time it uses a different image, that's why you see the image is different. All right, and the font is a little bit smaller than I thought with this. I mean, the writing is a little bit smaller with this type of font. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is on the file, I'm just gonna increase the font size, perhaps to 50. All right, so let's do this again. All right, so remove, nano, paste it. It should now be 50. We've changed that font size to 50, and close that. Yes, please. And then Python that, run it again, and let's just refresh it. Again, the image should be different, but you can see the font size is, we've increased it a little bit to 50, and it looks a little bit much better. Testing 1, 2, 3 Houston, we do not have a problem. So you can see how this works, and I'm showing you all the different variables you can change inside of your code. Okay, so you can change the font size, you can change the font family. You can go back to Google if you don't like this Clavinana font. You can change it and use a different font family and show it like that. So this code is very, very versatile. I mean, if you wanted to even change the code as you go along, you could have it as a variable like we've done these other ones, and then you could sort of every week you could use a different font. I mean, it's up to you, So how you do that. But basically, this is good to go, okay? So I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to just open it, nano Facebook img.py, and I'm going to remove this at the bottom, okay? So that it doesn't run this when it imports. All right. And then I'm going to save this. Yes. So let's catch up to where we are now, right? We have now, I've just shown you how to go through this whole process and develop images on the fly. And a lot of, advanced companies do this because, I mean, you don't have someone to daily do this for you and pick a different image every day. If you have enough random images and enough random text, this should be able to work, okay? So we start with a blank image. We get the HTML file, we create an HTML file with that image, we add the text to that image on the fly, all right, and then we use IMGKit to produce another image out of that, which actually now has a text on it. And then with this process, every time we get a different image, every time we get different text, okay? Now let's talk about randomizing the text. We've talked about randomizing the image. Randomizing the text is the easiest part. All you need is a list of texts that you want to put in there, and then you're going to just say random choice. The same way we did random choice of images, you're going to get a list of text and you're going to do random choice of the text, okay? So I've done that here quickly. I've got this list of text, okay? It's got some nice quotes that I've collected over the times, and then I'm going to just randomly choose between these quotations, right? So I've now rewritten my code in such a way that it will do that, okay? So I'm going to start at the top by importing Facebook IMG, all right? So import Facebook IMG is this file over here, all right? So we're going to import this file because we're going to be able, we want to call that, import Facebook IMG, because we want to call that to create the image before we post it on Facebook. So after we've imported it, we also need to import JSON. Okay, so import JSON because it's going to help us because we've created these codes inside of a JSON file. So I have it as, like an array and all the codes. But instead of putting it in this file, which would take so much space, I created a different file. And then inside of that file, I put, and I called it a JSON file, and then inside there I put the list, as you can see, inside of an array. So the way if it's a blank file, let me just show you. You would create a new file. Let's say it was just to delete, okay, .json. You would just create a blank JSON file, and then inside that JSON file, you would open it, and then you just start with open close braces, all right, and then you'd put your, day 1, whatever, day 2. Whatever, all the different, quotes or words that you want, and you have them as long as you like, okay? So that's what we have over here, all right? And then when you go back to your file, you can use this function, which is a read JSON file, okay? It opens the file name and loads that, JSON loads that file so that you can access it as a normal list. This just helps you not to have to save this file in here like I did over there, okay? So you can see over here, I created, it's a long thing and it's taking a whole lot of space, and this is bad development, but I did it like this so you can see what I'm doing. But you can even repurpose this code now and get rid of this and put it in a different JSON file, and then use this read JSON, all right, and to call it, and then JSON load it, and then be able to access it that way, okay? So, and I'll show you how to do it with the post, okay? So I've rewritten the post function. This file name is where these things are, So, and it's the absolute path for it, okay? So it's home, I saved it under a folder called data, and it's a JSON file, okay? So I put that in there, all right? And then now I'm going to use then that read JSON and put in that file name, and then assign it to a variable. So this variable is going to be now the list of quotes, or a list of messages, or a list of whatever. So I'm loading it now so I can be able to access it. Once I've loaded it like that, then I'm going to say random choice of this code. So choose just one randomly. So I'm going to choose weekly randomly. It's up to you. You can do it randomly, or you can like go through it one by one and say, we're going to start with the first one, plus, the second one, the third one. It's up to you how you want to do it, okay? So then I've got the MSG is a random choice of that. So once you've done that, Then this is what we did in the beginning, the URL, the feed, the message, the whatever, and then you post it. Okay, but I don't want to post these. I was just showing you how to do that. Okay, I don't want to post another random code. Okay, for the image, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? For the image, you're gonna get the file name, all right, which is the same file name there. This is where your random codes are stored, all right? So your random codes are stored there, all right? And then you read the JSON with the file name. Again, you random choice the code. So you picked one code randomly from your list of codes. Once you've done that, now you'll see over here what we're doing with this function. This is where all the magic happens, okay? The magic happens in this function. We are calling the Facebook IMG file, which is the file we imported at the top there, all right? So we are calling that file, and then inside of that file, we are calling the function that is called create Facebook IMG, which is this function over here. Create Facebook IMG, this function, and then we are entering the message body, all right? So this line of code runs everything in this file, okay, and saves a file in that location called output.jpg, all right? Then we're gonna sleep for 2 seconds. Give it some time, all right? Maybe sleep for 1 second, it's up to you. I'm gonna sleep for 2 seconds and then print that I'm sleeping for 2 seconds so that I know the clear difference between when I'm creating the image and when I'm ready to post it. So once I've created that image, then I'm gonna go to the image URL. This is the Facebook graph URL, okay, for images. It's that photos URL with your page ID, all right? So, and then the image location now, this image location is this URL over here. This URL is that URL there. It's the same URL over here, okay? Image carriers portal output. It's where we save the image we've just created, all right? So I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna specify that as the image location, okay? Then the image payload that I need to send to Facebook is the URL, which is the image location, okay? And the access token, which is my page access token, that long-lived page access token, all right? And once I've done that, R is request post image URL, okay? Then I'm gonna enter the data, the IMG payload, and then I'm gonna print the result, okay? And at the bottom here is the scheduling part of it, okay? So before we get into the scheduling part of it, because that will close with that, right? Before we get into the scheduling part of this, let's just run this image function, just the image function. Let's just run the image function like that, okay? And see what happens. So I'm gonna save all of this. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna remove the current Facebook.py file in there, and then I'm gonna do nano Facebook.py, okay, blank file. I just wanna run just this, okay? Okay, paste that in there. All right, image function. And let's close this. Yes, let's do Python Facebook.py. Time is not defined, of course. Okay, I need to import time at the top. All right, that's okay. Import time. Let's do nano. Let's import time over there. All right. Save that. Python Facebook.py. Rendering, sleeping for 2 seconds, posting to Facebook. There you go. All right. So it slept for 2 seconds, posted to Facebook, took a bit of time to post to Facebook, but let's have a look. All right. Let's refresh this because technically this image should now be different because now we've saved a new image in this location, all right? There you go. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being excited about what could go right. This is one of my random codes that I've got in there, all right? This is one of those random codes. So this image right now should be on my Facebook page, okay? So I'm gonna go to my Facebook page over there. So it should post technically to this page. But you've seen me, you've been going along with me. If it's the right image, it should be the image that I'm showing you right now, okay? It posted this a minute ago, and that's the image. Okay, so this is how we are gonna automate our Facebook posting. But this is not enough, okay? I still have to manually do this, and this is where the scheduling function comes in, okay? So I'm gonna remove this because we're not gonna run this manually. We're gonna schedule it, okay? So currently we've got two functions. We've got the image function and we've got the post function, all right? So we're gonna schedule every day at 9:30 the post function and schedule every day at 12:30 the image function, all right? And then we're gonna run while true. And to do this scheduling, for this schedule to work, obviously you need to import this schedule, all right? So at the top you import schedule, and for you to import schedule, you need to install schedule, all right? So I'm going to show you over here, and I will also link this for you. I'm gonna show you to Python schedule library. All right, I've used the schedule library a lot and you've probably seen it. It's the same schedule library, and I will also link this for you in the description below, and then you can go find it. But this is the library that we're using. Okay, this is the easiest one. You just pip install schedule, and then it shows you at the bottom there how you can do that. Okay, you give it like a function, and then you can schedule it every 10 seconds, every 10 minutes, every hour, every day, or every Monday, every Tuesday. It's up to you. So I'm doing it like every day, you know. So if you see me using every day is not the only one available, a function of schedule. You can do every Monday, every Tuesday, once a week, or whatever, you know, or every day at 9:30. So at 9:30 exactly, it will post that function, and then at 12:30 it will post the image, okay? And then you just say while true, schedule run, and it will run. And then you just run this function, okay? But here comes the problem, okay? And today I'm not gonna do this via systemctl because I had issues with that, okay? I'm gonna show you another very neat way of running this function on schedule, okay? Because what you want is then you wanna run this function. Once it's scheduled, then you wanna say Python facebook.py and run it. But the problem is once I log out of my virtual server, if it's running on the shell, it's gonna stop running, okay? So you can run it on a Docker machine or whatever, but that's like a bit overkill, right? Because it's just like a one-page Python script, okay? So what I do is that I install what they call a Python. I use so I'm gonna find it for you here as well. I install, no, it's not Python, it's Ubuntu screen, okay? Install. Okay. There you go. So I'm going to link this tutorial for you as well, because this is like another tutorial in itself, okay? Screen is a very useful, it creates multiple screens on your, it creates multiple screens on your, on your shell, and you can attach and detach screens, all right? So what we'll do is that, so we will come here, you'll see right now, I want to run this every day at 9:30, and I want to run it every day at 12:30, okay? So this is complete. I'm going to copy, actually I can just copy at the bottom there. So let me copy the whole file to be on the safe side, okay? So I'm gonna clear this, all right? And then I'm gonna list there, and then I'm gonna remove facebook.py, and then I'm gonna nano facebook.py, right? And then I'm gonna paste that. So now it's gonna be running on a schedule, all right? So every day, at least one post will go out. And then I'm gonna close that. So once I've done that, I've already installed screen on this machine, by the way. But if you followed the instructions, it's very easy. Just update your packages and then do sudo apt install screen. That's all you need to do. These are the only commands you need to run to install screen. Once you've installed screen, you can just type it like that, screen. All right, and click enter. And then you'll see something like this. Just click enter. And everything will look exactly the same, right? But you'll see now my virtual environment is gone, okay? But I'm still in the same location, right? So I can reactivate my virtual environment inside of screen. So let me cd out of here and look for it. So it's source, env, bin, activate. All right, and then I'm gonna cd back into Careers Portal. Okay, now I'm back in Careers Portal and my virtual environment is activated, right? It looks like I'm running on the same machine, but I'm actually running inside of Screen now. So Screen has created an extra shell screen for me to do commands on, and I can close and detach the screen, and whatever the commands running will continue to run, okay? So then what I can do is that, let me just nano a Facebook.py, like that. This is the file we just created there, all right? There you go. So I'm gonna close this and clear that, all right? And then all I need to do is to say Python Facebook.py. You won't see anything because it's going to sit and wait on the schedule for 9:30 or 12:30. So nothing will happen until 12:30. But if it was not running on script and I did like a keyboard interrupt, it will stop running the program. But if you're running on script, all you need to do is Control A, you press the button Control and the button A at the same time, you know, and then you press D later. But it's all these instructions are there if you you know, you read this documentation. Okay, there is Control A, D is for detaching a screen. Okay, where is it? Control A, managing screen session. There it is. So this one detaches a screen for you. So Control A at the same time, and then you press D. All right. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna do Control A and press D. And then you'll see I'm back where I was on the Tutor ENV, but you'll see something shown there. You've detached from the screen number 18365. So what you need to do is to write the screen number somewhere. Okay, so it's 18365. You need to take note of your screen number because every time you create a new screen, it creates a new screen. And then when you detach from it, you need to know what it is so to reattach back to it. So now I can clear this. I can actually CD out of here. I can deactivate out of my, you know, and I'm back in the root. I've deactivated everything completely, right? And then I can do screen -R. I'm reattaching back to my screen. So screen -R 183, was it 18365? That was the string number. Okay, and you see now I'm in the ENV. This is running. It's waiting for some time, you know. So this is actually a different shell screen in parallel with my current shell screen. And if I do Control A, D again, I've detached away from that screen again. So now I can actually exit out of this completely and like go home and go have coffee, sit by the beach. The screen is gonna run at, according to my schedule, okay, at 9:30 it's gonna post that, and at 12:30 it's gonna post that. So I'm gonna do this and post even jobs and everything, all the other things I wanna post. I'm gonna create the post for all of those things directly in this function, all right? So I was showing you how to do 2 functions. You can have as many functions as you like. You can write a function for posting jobs that can go and find jobs from your database and post them, you know, at a certain time. It's up to you, but you can automate this properly and just sit and then it will run it on schedule. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you've learned something, and I'm looking forward to your comments in the description below. Not in the description, in the comment box below. Please remember to leave a comment. It really helps us with this channel to grow, and we'll see you again next time.